Welcome to Rock Solid Productions, where in this episode we're actually here to update one of our videos from 2017 and check out one of the newest AV to HDMI adapters out there. Hey everyone, Gary here with Rock Solid Productions, and one of the first videos we ever posted was our AV to HDMI adapter review. And if you've seen me talk about this in a number of different videos, I am not a fan of these setups. They introduce a lot of RF noise, a lot of artifacting, an audio buzz. Generally, I have been very disappointed in the different models of these that I have tried. Well, the folks from Cool Digital recently reached out to me and said, hey, we know that you've had bad experiences. We want you to try ours. I'm like, I don't like them. No, we want you to try ours. We think ours is better. I don't like them. No, seriously, ours is really better. You need to give it a try. Okay, you persuaded me. So Cool Digital, I do want to thank them for sending us one in for review. They're very confident about their product, but our tests are going to see how this really performs. Now, a couple things I'm looking for again is if there's any introduction of any artifacting around any of the images, any RF noise, any distortion to the audio. Those are instant losers to me right there if these sorts of adapters do that. Now, why would you want something like this? Well, say instead of buying a clone NES, Super NES, Genesis, you want to use your original hardware but hook it up to your modern flat panel TV. You can do it through the AV jacks, but generally they don't look very good, and some TVs now aren't even including those. With the AV to HDMI adapter, like the one here from Cool Digital, it gives you those AV outputs out of your system and converts it to an HDMI port. It should look better, theoretically speaking. It should also, this is stating it upscales to 1080p. So we have our original Nintendo Famicom. That's one of the reasons why I want it. I love my Famicom. I also have a Sharp Famicom Twin down there, and the NES we're going to try out and see how they work. So we're going to throw this on the bench, unbox it, and see how it comes out of the box. So here we have the Cool Digital HD video converter, and as you can see right on here, it says it upscales up to 1080p, converts AV to HDMI. Now that is important to note that this is AV to HDMI. It is directional. So if you have an HDMI cable and you plug into something that only has AV, this will not work for you. On the back side here, features, no need to install drivers, portable, flexible, plug and play, that's a good thing. Low power, no need power supply. That's awesome because the ones that I've used to this point have required a USB power supply to plug into it. Output the audio synchronization with video, so it does audio and video. High bandwidth capacity, supports 1920 by 1080 at 60 hertz. So we'll pop this open, and here's the unit itself. Now, the first thing I notice, it's a metal case. The other ones I've used to this point had plastic cases, so that may change somewhat as far as its resistance to interference. Your video, audio left, audio right. And then the other side, well, this is weird because it says it doesn't need power, but there's a 5-volt DC power supply input right there. HDMI and format, I'll bet you that's to go back and forth between 720 and 1080p. Now it does come with a power cable here, so I'm a bit confused as to why it indicates low power, no need power supply. It's a little confusing. We'll check out the instructions really quick. Useful converter to convert analog composite into HDMI. No need to install driver. Provided with great precision. Supports PAL NTSC 3.58, NTSC 4.43, SECAM, PAL-M, PAL-N, standard TME formats. Supports HDMI 1080 or 720, so I'm sure that's what that format button is. Input ports, output ports, dimensions, weight. All right. We are going to hook it up to our Famicom that we have here, and I know some of you familiar with this system may be wondering, how are you going to hook this up to a Famicom? It only has the RF output. Well, my Famicom has actually been RF modded, so I can actually use it with here. I will also be using this with a couple other systems like I mentioned, so let's get playing. So I've got my Famicom ready to rock and roll here with the cool digital adapter. And one thing, I have YY World 2, great game for the Famicom. If you've never played it, pick it up. They're about 20-25 bucks the last time I looked. So much fun. Thanks to John Riggs for pointing this one out to me. But if you notice on the white background, the vertical striping basically, and here on the blue you can see the vertical striping. That's really consistent with some of the other AV to HDMI adapters that I've used in the past. One of the things I don't like about these is you do get issues like that. Now, one thing on the cool digital adapter here though, if you notice, it's a 4:3 picture. That's a definite improvement over some of those cheaper boxes that I've used in the past. Those by and large, they're 16:9 and that you're screwed. That's all you got. This at least maintains the right aspect ratio. Go to one player really quick here, hit start. Now, one thing too, and I do have footage of this in 16:9, which I'll show you in a moment too, is if you do decide to use the 16:9, it actually looks worse as far as the streaking. You can see it's still here in the background. Great music in this, great just overall control and gameplay. Little bit of lag I'm feeling. The nice thing about this though is the fact that you know, you don't have to go out and buy a whole new system or a clone system if you want to be able to play, say that you found your old NES or Super NES in an attic or you know, in a basement, or you found a great deal on one in a garage sale. You can take advantage of what you already have, but this will not, you know, if you're looking for something to duplicate, like say a Super NES Classic or an NES Classic Edition, this isn't going to do that for you. Now, one thing, if you notice on the right-hand side of the screen, it's actually drawing part of the screen ahead of time as it's scrolling. That's normally something you would not see on a normal 4:3 television. So that is something to be aware of. Now, I don't know what the deal is with this baby on here. That overscan, I think that's what that is. It's just, it's really kind of annoying on here, but it's one of the things that you get when you're converting, you know, an older game system over to a newer TV. So that's how the Famicom looks. It's okay, but not great. I do really dig the fact that it is 4:3 versus 16:9. So now we've hooked up our NES, and I'm using the stock controller and everything, with Mike Tyson's Punch-Out. This doesn't look good. This is just the intro menu, and you can see Little Mac and Ball Bull there. But look at all the artifacting that's on the canvas. I mean, I'm not saying this to make a joke out of it. I would be careful if you suffer from seizures using something like this, because it is completely tripping me out and messing with my eyes right now. But let's go into a game and just see how it looks. There again, you can see like the lines and whatnot. Yeah, this is just not very good. Look at like the artifacting around Little Mac and Mario, for example. The kind of ghost images around there. I don't know how long I'm going to be able to play this just with what's going on screen right now. I mean, I'm not noticing it causing any lag or any issues that way. It's just really tripping me out as far as what it's doing to the screen. And this is kind of what I was talking about in our original review, that unfortunately with me standing in front of the television, it didn't come through as well as it does here using a true capture device. Yeah, I can't do this anymore. I'm gonna switch to our next system to test out here, and I'm hoping going with something newer and higher quality output to begin with, that we get better results out of it. Now with my Genesis fired up, and I have to admit, this actually looks decent. Little blurry, but not terrible. Not great, but I mean, it's definitely better than the Famicom was, I will say that much. Now, I did also play a little bit of this in 16:9, and that I did not think looked very good. This is something that you definitely want to play in 4:3 mode. It just did not seem to play well. I would say this for Genesis games, definitely, you know, not terrible. Is it going to replace something like an AV mod or an HD Retrovision set of cables? No, but you're also not looking at the same amount of money either. I mean, I would definitely, if you're looking for the best possible quality out of your Genesis, the HD Retrovision cables are going to be the way to go. But if you're just looking for something that's passable for the Genesis, this is really playable. And I think the one thing to remember here is it's an old programming, I don't know what the analogy, that's the term I'm looking for. Garbage in, garbage out. If you have a bad signal coming in or a poor quality signal coming in, you don't have a whole lot to amplify in the first place. I know back when I used to work consumer electronics and we would sell television amplifiers. You know, if you don't have much of a signal to begin with, and this is back in the day of analog, not digital signals, you're not going to have, you know, a great result coming out. But if you have something decent coming in and you need to spread the signal around, a TV antenna amplifier will help. It's not going to perform miracles, and this does not perform any miracles, but it's okay. It's not great. It's good. It's not great. Well, there's Streets of Rage 2. As you can see, it's better than the Famicom. It definitely looks better than the Famicom. Let's go another generation newer. Let's look at the Nintendo 64. Star Wars Shadows of the Empire is one of my favorite games, honestly, of all time. It's such an amazing game, and being able to play it now on you know, my N64 using like the Retro Fighters Brawler 64 is just awesome. Let's see, I'm going to clear this out. I need to, yes, really? Start a new player. And I'm a wuss, so we're going to go to easy. Battle of Hoth. And this, what I'm curious on is Battle of Hoth. I want to see, this actually looks really decent. I want to see if this had any of the streaking that the Famicom had, and it doesn't. Now, like I mentioned, I'm using the Brawler 64 controller for this. And it's actually really, really good. All right, where do we got to go here? We'll take care of a couple more probe droids. This does look a heck of a lot better than just using the AV cables. It is the right aspect ratio, which helps too. Now, this isn't up to the same performance as like the Ultra 64 HDMI adapter. It's not. And if that's what you're expecting, you're going to be disappointed. But man, this does look better than what, there we go. I want to change my view there. It did look better than the AV cables, that's for sure. Oh no! The music on this game is just so epic. I mean, this game too, one of the great things about it was the fact that you started the game in the Battle of Hoth. How awesome is that? That next stage is complete. Oh, we're going to use the harpoons and tool cables, or at least try to take down the walker, because you know that armor is too strong for blasters. This has always been a challenge for me, but thankfully the Retro Fighters controller has given me a little bit better control than what I've had in the past. That view has just always been really challenging, that third-party sort of view. Yes, got him! Now, one thing on here too is, now, like I mentioned, this does have a 16:9 or 4:3 aspect ratio setting on it. You have to hold the button down to be able to swap back and forth between the two. It's not really intuitive initially to do that. I do have my Spice Orange GameCube here that we are going to throw some F-Zero GX at. Looking just at the menu, it definitely looks the best out of any of the systems that I've played thus far. We'll go into F-Zero GX. But here you can even see, like, look around the F-Zero GX logo. It's kind of blurry. But even here, looking at the menu, look at the, down below where the BA options were. Here, it'll pop up in just a moment, hopefully. Yeah, so look at the A around enter, how blurry that is. So we'll go to Mute City real quick. Will be the man in black. We'll focus more on speed and go racing. Yeah, I mean, already having played this recently with the GCHD, I can already tell how grainy this looks. I mean, it's still a gorgeous game, but it's leaving something to be desired here. As is my driving, apparently. Clearly, I need more practice. Yeah, I mean, you're losing a lot of detail in the background, and the distance, the draw distance, is not nearly as robust as with like the GCHD. But now you're also looking at a much less expensive device than the GCHD as well. Audio is okay. I'd say if anything, that's one of the good things about this, is the fact that audio is not an issue on this whatsoever. Boosted too fast. So if you remember when I started out this video, I said I didn't like these adapters. I'm still not a huge fan, but I will say that for the money, for what it does, the Cool Digital AV to HDMI adapter, it is better. It is better than these cheap plastic ones that I've used in the past. Couple things that this does not do that the Cool Digital one does. First of all, as you can see, it does the 4x3 or 16:9. If you're playing retro games, anything older than the Wii, so that's GameCube, well, some GameCube titles you can get away with it, but most GameCube games, N64, Sega Master System, Sega Genesis, NES, Super Famicom, Famicom. You want to play those in 4x3 aspect ratio. They just look better. Now you did see that some of the noise on the Famicom didn't show up in some of the later systems on the 4x3 mode. On 16:9, it did. So that's again where it definitely pays to have it set in 4x3 mode. Another thing is, again, this has a plastic case on it. The Cool Digital unit has an aluminum case on it. What difference does it make? Well, before I recorded this, I found out that I had actually left it plugged in and turned on for 2 weeks. I went to Germany for 2 weeks, well, 9 days. I left it turned on. Forgot to turn it off before I left. The aluminum case helped dissipate that heat, helped it survive for all that time. No issues whatsoever. It's still playing right here. So that's one of the benefits of the aluminum case over the plastic case like this. The push button, it's not the greatest design ever. I really wish that they would have taken and separated the 4x3 versus 16:9 aspect ratio functionality and the mode functionality as far as 1080p versus 720p. I really wish they would have developed two different interfaces for that. It works. They really need to update their manual and their instructions to help make that a little bit clearer. Now, I have talked to them. This is actually the second version of this video because the first one, I could not get it to move into 60 or move from 16:9 to 4x3. I talked to them. They told me exactly how to do it. It works. So I do want to thank them for being able to work with me on that to help answer my questions. They have acknowledged too that the box is incorrect where it tells you that you don't need an external power supply. You absolutely do. Now, one other thing they thought was a concern, I don't think it's a major deal, is the fact that the length of the micro USB cable is a little bit on the short side. It doesn't affect me. I have tons of micro USB cables. I have everything connected to my power supply underneath here, connected to the Cool Digital adapter. works without a problem. But if you do need to go a longer distance, you may want to pick up a separate micro USB cable for power. The nice thing about micro USB power is the fact that you can get cables anywhere and they're pretty cheap. So that's good to know there. At the end of the day, it's still not my preferred way to play games, but it is better than what this was. I mean, you're never going to see that one here on the channel again. As you can see here is Shadows of the Empire, and it's a little bit blurry, but you know what? This is a hell of a lot better than what the AV cables would look like just going straight into here. The better quality signal you have going into the box, the better quality signal you're going to get back out. That's something really important for you to know. So if you do have like a GameCube, an N64, a Dreamcast, something like this, you may want to try out, where before I would have suggested staying away from it altogether. Now, on later or older systems like the NES and the Famicom and maybe even the Super NES and Super Famicom, you still may have some issues with artifacting, audio issues, some clipping and whatnot. Again, garbage in, garbage out. You have a 240p signal coming in off of those systems, and those aren't really very good on those to begin with. Granted, this is only 240p as well, but the output signal is just, it's high resolution, or not higher resolution, but just a better quality graphic coming out of the machine. But these are just my thoughts. What do you think? Let me know down in the comments what you think. This is, at least in my opinion, it's an improvement over the original one that I did. I would honestly consider using one of these now versus originally just testing it out in 16 by 9 4x3. It made a world of difference, and I was not expecting it. Let me know what you think down in the comments below. You can also go ahead and send me an email at rocksolidmail@gmail.com if you have any questions. That's the best way too if you want to get a hold of me and you want to have your product featured on the channel, rocksolidmail@gmail.com. You can also hit me up on Twitter at RockSolidStudios or on Facebook at facebook.com/RockSolidProductions. And as always, don't forget to subscribe to the channel. That way, anytime we come out with new content, you're alerted with either an email alert or a notification on your smartphone or device to let you know that we do have new videos up and live. And also don't forget, you can help support the channel over on our Patreon page, patreon.com/rocksolid. For as little as $1 a month, you can join us. We have one-on-one discussions over there, separate from what we have here on the videos. You get early access to our video content as well. So again, you can really help us in the future to form what develops out of Rock Solid Productions. So the cool digital AV to HDMI adapter, it is an improvement. Anything that allows me to play my retro games better or cleaner on a modern TV, I am all for. Not so great on the Famicom and the NES, but on later systems, it's actually it's pretty usable. Let me know what you think down in the comments. Thanks for watching. I'll see you soon.